Part 23. Analyze our games. Some positions are very complex, and we are not able to solve them at the board. We have to admit it. But that's because of we're not acquainted with some positions, some complex positions, and also because of the time constraints. Sometimes we don't have much time and we spoil, or maybe we get afraid of the position, and sometimes also we don't manage our time very well, and then we spoil everything and lose the game. This is what happened here, unfortunately. So I played e4, d6. I've been playing many games against the Perk defense. d4, knight f6, bishop d3. Here it's also possible to play knight c3, then g6, knight f3, bishop g7, bishop e2, castles, castles. And we have a equal position. Nothing is different here from an equal position. It's okay. So after bishop d3, my opponent played g6. Then c4, I wanted to take control of the center and expand my queen side. Knight c6, bishop e3, bishop g7, knight c3. I was a little bit afraid of this guy coming to b4 or this guy coming to g4, and this pawn here is a little bit fragile. So castles, h3. I didn't want this guy from coming to g4. Then I played h3. Then e5. This is a very similar position to some King's Indian. So d5, knight e7. It's also possible here. Knight d4. Then I play knight f3 in equal position. But my opponent played like a King's Indian. Then queen d2. I wanted to exchange here on h6. Then knight e8. Also c6 is very common in these situations. My opponent took 1 minute to play knight e8, and then I played bishop h6. I wanted to exchange the black squared bishop and maybe attack on the king side. But according to some engines, or Stockfish or Lila, it's better to play knight ge2. Okay, it's like a waiting move. And then after bishop h6, my opponent played this. I think my opponent plays the King's Indian very well. It's very similar to all the positions we get on the King's Indian. Then I played here knight ge2. Probably it's better to exchange on g7, and if knight takes, then knight f3, then f takes on e4 and bishop takes on e4. Black is okay. Yeah, black can play the knight, one of these guys, to f5. It's okay. No pair of bishops. Maybe I can attack on the king side. Castle's long, I don't know. It's possible. We have many plans here. But after knight g2, I took on a6. My opponent played a6. I took on g7. My opponent took with the king. Is it possible to play to take with the knight? Yes. It's okay. This guy here is very strong, and if my opponent takes on e4, this knight can come to f5, and it's a very strong knight. But I can always play g4 and make it move. So king g7, h4, I want to attack on the king side. f4, my opponent wants to close the position and stop my attack. Then I played h5. I wanted to open the file here. g5, my opponent didn't allow this. It's okay. I thought about h6, but it didn't seem anything special for me when I played it. And in case of king h8, it's an equal position. f3, g4. See, my opponent is a little bit courageous. He's opening the king side. Okay, h6 is better. Okay, then if he wants to open it, I'm gonna help him. So I took on g4 and he took with the bishop. And then instead of taking here, h6 is better. g5, then h takes on g5, g3. As you can see, I'm trying to open the position, and then I can, in case of pawn takes on g3, I can take with a check and retake it after that. So f6, then I try to open the position, and long castles, and I have some prospects on the king side, but the position is equal. There's nothing here. Okay, my opponent took on g4. I played this rook h4. Is there anything better? I don't know, maybe g3. In case of this, my opponent takes on e2, I can take back. f3, bishop d1, f2 check, knight f1, king f1, h6, and king g2. This, despite the fact that this pawn is advanced, it is very weak, and I can do something to take it and win it. Yeah, white is a little bit better in this case, but nothing much. This bishop can come to g4 and maybe do something here on this diagonal. I can move my rooks and try to take this pawn. So okay, but after rook h4, my opponent played this. He moved his bishop back to d7, and then here I made a mistake. I played rook h2 instead of rook h1. Rook h1 is better because now the rooks are connected. And h3, h6, and then castles long, and then knight f6, and we get an equal position, or it's nothing. White can't do anything now. It's an equal position. But this is a mistake. Rook h2, and then my opponent played this. He wanted to open up the queen side because he knew I would castles queen side. It's possible. Knight f6 and castles, and then attack my rook with knight g4, and then h6 check, king h8, and rook h5. Black is a little bit better. So this, after c6, I castle long. I was not afraid of taking on d5 because I can take with the pawn, either pawn, or the e4 pawn or the c4. No, not much difference. Maybe it's better to take with the c4 pawn or with the e4 pawn, because then I can open up this diagonal. Okay, but instead of castles long, it's possible to play g3, but I was a little bit afraid of this. I prefer to castles long. And then h6 check, king h8, rook f2, pinning here, then b5, d takes on c6. We played this in this game. Then knight takes on c6, c takes on b5, a takes on b5, bishop takes on b5, knight c7, bishop takes on c6. Then I go for this pawn, knight b5, I take on b5, he would take with the bishop, and then win this pawn. There are some situations here, no castling, and maybe a draw here. Yeah, it's a drawing position, because I wouldn't castle because of the a2 pawn, and I wouldn't allow my opponent to take on this. The rook is protected by the knight, it's okay. That's why it's a draw. So after long castles, b5. My opponent's very good, yeah, he knew what to attack. And then I would win this one pawn, but is it enough? Is it okay to open up your king's position? That was not good during this game, because I lost because of this. My king was exposed to some attacks, some checks, and some things, especially this file here. So it's possible to take here, then I would take with the a pawn, but my opponent played b5, opening up some lines here against my king. And this is the right thing to do in situations like this. I played very well here. I took on c6, then he took with the bishop. It's also possible to take with the knight. Then I would win a pawn. But is it enough, or isn't it dangerous to open up some lines? As you can see now, my opponent has some lines. Okay, my opponent took with the bishop. Then I played knight d5. Or is it better to take on? Yeah, I wouldn't win this pawn because of this. Let's go back, and in case I take here, he take with the bishop or the pawn. I would exchange everything, and then I would lose this a pawn, so it wouldn't change much. And this rook is not in a good position here on h2. Better to be here, but I wanted to double rooks, but it doesn't change much because of this pawn can't make progress, can't advance, so it was a mistake. So knight d5, my opponent took here on c4, I took with the bishop, and then rook c8. In case of bishop takes on d5, then I would take with the bishop, then check, king b1, knight takes on d5, h6 check, king h8, then I would take on d5, knight f6, then I would win a pawn, but then black would win it back, d5. What's the thing here? I have 4 pawns, black has 4 pawns, 2 rooks, a knight, and it's a very equal position, yeah? I can go for this pawn, but my opponent has a passed pawn. That's the not so good part. Maybe black's a little bit better here. So after rook c8, I played king b1. I wanted to take my king to a safer position. This is when things started to get a little bit difficult to calculate and to know all the things here. Maybe it's better to play, oh, there's a crazy variation here, but it's not mine, it's from the computers, to play knight d takes on f4. Then if e takes on f4, knight takes again, and bishop d7, because white was threatening to check here, and a double on the king and queen, and then b3 defending the bishop, and then knight g8. What is the position? What is it all about? Is black better here? Is there anything good for white? Black is a little bit better. This pawn is weak. This pawn is weak. My king is in a not good position, but according to the computer, black is a little bit better. Okay, but I didn't play this. It's a computer's move. Yeah, to take on f4. It's a computer's move. My opponent played this, bishop a4, and it's a mistake. Better to take on d4, on d5. Then bishop takes on d5, knight takes on d5, queen takes, and knight f6 check. No, I was thinking about this check. No, just knight f6. Is it good? It's possible to win this pawn back, but to win this pawn, but my opponent would win it back. It would be the same. Black's a little bit better here. So here's a mistake, bishop a4, and then I also made a mistake. I played this, rook c1. The computer suggests this, and it's crazy, yeah? To take on f4. In case of this, e takes on f4, then I have check here, king h8, and there's the check here. That's the problem. Knight f6, then I would take on f6. Oh, this positions is winning for white, eh? Then white has to take on c4, knight queen takes on c4, rook takes on f6, and then I win the bishop on a4, and white is much better here. But it's not easy to see a move like this, yeah? It's not easy at all. So this is not to take on f4 is not the best, of course. Then he would play queen d7, and then I can double here and take on, then rook take on c4, then I take on d7, and rook takes on e4, and a double here on e6, and white is much better here again. So as you can see, these positions are very tactical, very difficult to analyze. But I played this, and this is a mistake, as I have already mentioned. Then my opponent took on d5, I took with the bishop. There's a check here, but the computer says it's the best option, but we usually don't pay attention to such a move, because we know that the king is gonna go to h8, and then I take here, take queen, king takes on c1 and queen c7 check, and knight c3, and black is a little bit better. Okay, then when I took on d5, my opponent took my rook on c1, check. Then I took with the knight, and this is not good. It's better to take with the king. The knight f6 and knight c3. Black is slightly better, but nothing much. So my opponent took on c1 with check, and then I took with the knight, and we have already seen it's a mistake. Then my opponent played this, knight f6, and my knight is not in a very good position here. I could have played this, knight d3 maybe. Okay, knight e2, queen b6, or h6 may be better, but I was not paying too much attention on h6 checks. It doesn't change anything. So queen b6, and then I played this because I was a little bit afraid of the queen coming to f2, and rook b8, and it's an equal position. There's another option here to play queen e3, and then I would take, and then knight g3, knight takes on d5, e takes on d5, rook f2, b3, bishop d7, rook e1, rook takes on g2, rook takes on e3, bishop g4. Is it better? Who's better here? Black or white? Black's a little bit better, but I'm probably able to draw this position. I don't know. This pawn is gonna fall because the king is gonna come here, and the bishop and king attacks. Yeah, maybe this position is lost for white. Rook b8, according to the computer it's an equal position, but it's a problem. As you can see, two pieces attacking my king. I can't move my queen. So knight c3 attacking the bishop. According to the computer, h6 is a draw. Knight c3, bishop c6. My opponent proposed the exchange of bishops. I don't know why. What if I take on c6? Yeah, the problem is this pawn, yeah? It's isolated. Okay. But after knight c3, my opponent played this, bishop c6. It's possible to play bishop d7. And then we have some moves here. h6 check, king g6, and bishop goes back to b3 to protect this b2 pawn, and also it's possible to play, yeah, this pawn is always vulnerable. So there are some exchanges here, e2, oh, double here, then black takes on the 4. Oh, then I can have an attack here, but bishop f5. Then I would take on d4. No. Knight c3 check, king a1, bishop takes, knight takes, knight e4, rook e1. It's kind of equal position. I can take this guy next in case of knight g4, g5, knight g5 check here, and no check. Yeah. Okay. Black's a little bit better here. So bishop c6, then I played g3. I want to attack because I was not afraid of this pawn here, because for now it's protected by the king, by the queen. The king and the queen are protecting b2, so 2 attacks and 2 protections. Okay, g3, bishop took on d5, I took on. It's a mistake, isn't it? Then knight took on e4, and then the winning game, the winning guy here's queen c2, because after this I can check here on c7, then king h6, then I would take on b8. There are some crazy lines here. Check, check. Is it possible to? Oh, that's a draw here. And it's a draw. Yeah, it would be nice to draw this position, yeah? Because black can play king f5 to avoid the draw because of this check. Then we have king e6, then check again with the knight, king f6, then we have one more check here on g6, king e7, check on e8, king f6, knight d5 check, bishop king g7, h6 check. See, now this check is strong. King h7, queen e7 check, king g6, queen g7 check, knight king f5, one more check on f7, king g7 g4, check on h5, king g6 g3, and rook h3 checkmate. See, this is long, yeah? I don't know if I would be able to see all of this during the game. Probably not. So this is a mistake. Unfortunately, this is a mistake, because my opponent played queen d4, and this is kind of annoying. I thought I would win something here because of this cover check and the knight here, but I couldn't. So g takes on f4 check, and here my opponent made a mistake. He played king f7. It's better to play king h8, and then king a1 to avoid this check, because this check was the guy who won the game. So after my opponent's mistake, king f7, I played this horrible mistake here. So I wanted to attack or to avoid my knight from being taken, but this is the move that would make life easier for white. I wouldn't be able to win, but it would be a draw, because now I threat this check here and take the rook and other things. Then if my opponent played rook b5, then I would take on e5, then check here, king c1, rook takes on d5, queen c7 check, king e6, rook c8 check, king takes on e5, queen e8 check, king f6, queen f1 f8 check, king e5, queen 7 check. See, we have many checks here, check, check, and then king f5, queen d7 check, king f6, and then queen d8 check, and it's a draw. A draw is good. A draw would be nice, because this game would be a very nice draw, but I didn't see this. I played knight c7, and it's a mistake because of this crazy check here, and it's a interference check. Now his rook and his queen can take on b2. See, I have to move. The only good move is king c1, because in case of king a1, and it's mate here on b2. Then check on b2, king d1, queen a1 check, king e2, and queen a2, threatening the discovered here. I have to do something in case of this. Check here, then would we exchange the queens, rook b8. The problem is the pawn. This pawn is very strong. I don't know if I'm able to. It's possible. It's impossible to draw this game, I think. Then the computer suggests rook h3, but I don't know. This position is very difficult for white. Black's gonna play maybe knight c4 or something like this, and it's impossible because of this pawn. This pawn is gonna march forward, this pawn is gonna fall. There are many things here. So after queen takes on e2, I took on e5. I wanted something, I don't know what, to lose the game. And then my opponent played this. Knight e4 check, then king f3, and rook b3 check. And then I'm gonna lose the queen. So this was a very nice game, but I got into some very difficult positions, hard positions to solve. I wanted to attack, but it was not possible. I was a little bit late, or too slow probably, because of this knight c7, horrible knight c7. The move that would guarantee the draw would be queen c2, but I didn't see it. And sometimes, as you can see, I spent 51 seconds on knight c7. So sometimes it's not a question of time. Sometimes we have some time to think, but it's more a question of seeing the most important moves, and maybe sometimes two or three moves ahead are enough to see what's going on in the position. But I consider this to be a very nice game because I wanted to attack. I was able to disturb my opponent's king, but he got first in my king's position. But it was a nice game. I hope you've learned something as much as I did, because next time I'm gonna play it better. Thank you very much. Take care.